Hi, I'm Sarah from the Board Game BBQ, and today we're taking a look at the gardens. This is a prototype copy of the game, and it's been sent to us by Grail Games. It's coming to Kickstarter on the 24th of August. So this is just an unpaid preview of the game so you can check it out and see if you would like it. The Gardens is about the Sydney Botanical Garden, so it's quite dear to me as I live in Sydney. And everybody has a board that represents the Sydney Botanical Gardens. And as you can see, there are 3 meeples starting in the middle. That's the starting position that is in the basic setup of the game. So these meeples are all going to be visitors in the park, and they're going to take a lovely walk through the park and see as many sights as they can. In the game, there are basic scoring tiles, and I'll get to those in a moment, but essentially you're going to be scoring for things like focal trees, fountains, and also benches, because when you're walking around you want to take a rest and take in the sights. So the game is very simple. Players take turns in drafting a card, and there are A, B, and C cards. A's are for the top row of your park, B's are for the middle, and C's are for the bottom row. So you can see here there's a variety of different things the visitor can see, and depending on what you want to aim for, you can choose which one you want. So I might decide to take these lovely jacarandas here, and you place them in your park where they're meant to be. I'd either place it here or here. It has to come out from an adjacent tile, or a card, so I couldn't place it over here, for example. So I place it there, and then my visitor will visit that tile. So in this tile there are 2 of the same trees, which in the scoring tile for trees, it says that I will get either 1, 3, 6, or 10 points when a visitor sees trees, depending on how many they see. So 1 point for 1 tree, 3 points for 2 trees, for 3 trees is 6 points, and for 4 it's 10. So later on, if I get another card that looks like this with 2 jacarandas on it, and I place it over here, for example, then they would travel across and they would see 4 jacarandas on that turn, so I would get a whopping 10 points. But that's as simple as it is. That's my turn for now, and then it moves on to the next person. So everyone else now knows that I can't pick anything from the Group A section. So perhaps they want to stop me from getting something in the C or the B section. That's, it could be a strategic decision to make. So then they take something else from there, and then there'll be less choice, of course, on your next turn. Now I can't place anything in A. I have to place a B or a C. So for fountains, if I were to place this one, then you get a point. Fountain scoring is different. You get a point for every stream that visitor has seen. So there's the 1, and that's a stream 2. So that would be 2 points. Now there are landmarks on the on player boards, as you can see, and when these get covered up with cards, you actually get a special a special card for that, and those cards are double-sided. There's a victory point score on one side, and then on the other side there might be an ongoing scoring benefit for you. So they can be really lucrative to get, and they also add to this tension in the game because there's the race to get those. So that is essentially the game. Obviously, as you go along, you're going to be scoring a lot higher because your visitors will pass more things as they go along. So at the moment, so this bench will get me 1, 2, 3, 4 because it gets you a point for everything that's surrounding it. So that would be 4 points. But if I'd already built 2 down here and this one here, so later on in the game, placing it there could potentially give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. So potentially larger points as the game goes on. At the end of the game, there are 4 different scoring tiles for end game scoring. There are your pathways. So the longest pathway you've been able to make in your park, you count up all of the card spaces oops, that's not a legal move. you would count up all of the spaces that the pathway goes along. So for example, this one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 points. There's also trees for each row. If you can get all of the 4 different focal trees in one row, it's worth 10. If you get 3, it's worth 6. If you get 2, it's worth 3. If you get 1, it's worth 1. So that's kind of interesting because it goes against the scoring within the game, which wants you to get the same trees on each line. So there are competing requirements, which is quite interesting. Then there's also the statues. So the statues is another thing you're going to be fighting people for, because the statues, they actually they only give the player with the most statues 10 points, and it's 10 points for every player who has less than you. The landmarks are also always tense because you're really racing to get to those before the other player. Some of them are worth 10 points, just straight up 10 points, which is quite a lot. Now, the scores have been very close. It's been quite a well-balanced, tense game so far. I have, you know, even with the extra scoring, like the statue, which seems quite overpowered, I guess because in the game when you're placing statues, you're not scoring anything at that time. It's only for the end game scoring. So it's actually incredibly well balanced. There are different scoring tiles in the game, so you can mix those up, and in that way it reminds me a little bit of Cascadia, because you have the same images and the same things that you want to score for, but they will have different rules. So they'll actually score you different points, and you'll need to do things a little bit differently depending on which scoring tiles you have. This game has multiple modes. As I mentioned, there is a basic mode without the landmarks. The basic game definitely would be easy for, the box says 8+, and I would say that's pretty accurate. The basic game is quite simple to get your head around, and then you can add more complexity if you want with the different scoring and with the landmark tiles. The game is quite unique. There's this different aspect of placing your visitors and then sort of going back and forth. And it's interesting because once they get to one of the ends, then they can no longer go to that in that direction. So they can only go to the left if they're on the far right. And that actually makes things for scoring quite interesting. So the artwork is really lovely in this game. It reminds me of the botanical gardens. It's got that wonderful bin chicken that everyone loves so much on the front. Everyone loves an ibis. So I hope you found this video helpful and that it has helped you make a judgment about whether this game is right for you. If you like our other videos, please like and subscribe and hit the bell, and I hope your next game is a sizzling one.